Welcome, PE Magazine readers, both NSPE members and non-members alike, to this demonstration of the video game Space Engineers, which is, of course, part of our September-October cover story, Playing Engineers. If you haven't checked that or any of the other videos for it out yet, I do recommend that you do that after watching this video, although I am responsible for all of that content, so I may be a little biased. With that said, however, let's go ahead and dive into the video game Space Engineers. As I begin to explain a little bit more about developer Keen Software House's Space Engineers, I'm just going to explore some things that have already been made or are pre-made in the particular world that I've loaded in the game to give you an idea of some of the things that are really possible in this particular game. The first thing that I should mention about Space Engineers is that it's still in development. That means it's not done yet, and Keen Software House is still making the game. The reason gamers are able to play Space Engineers now in its unfinished state is because Keen Software House has made it available through Digital Game Store Steam's Early Access program. So what is Space Engineers? Well, like Minecraft and Trove, another game featured in our video series, Space Engineers is a game of resource collecting and building. Specifically, though, Space Engineers is a game about the engineering, construction, and maintenance of things in space. Things like spaceships, space stations, and mining facilities on asteroids. Important to note, however, is that to the best of the developer's ability, the game uses real-world technology and physics whenever possible. That means Keen Software House approaches it from a very hard sci-fi angle. To quote its mission statement again, every technology and every idea must be explainable using modern-era knowledge, with very little extrapolation required. As far as the game's physics are concerned, Keen Software House has developed its very own game engine, which gives every object in the game things like its own mass, inertia, velocity, and volume, keeping true to the real world as much as possible. But let's play the game a little bit. As you might have noticed a moment ago, I ran into an asteroid at full speed. One of the ways to play the game is in creative mode, in which you can just go in and engineer the heck out of things. You have as much access to materials as you need, and you just go in and build, and you don't have to worry about keeping your engineer alive, as is clearly apparent from that collision. So the other way to play is survival mode, where you do have to worry about things like radiation and meteor showers and things of that nature, as well as the gathering of resources to actually build things. Being in creative mode, I am actually going to demonstrate building something, so I'm just going to cut ahead to where I find a good platform to build on. And here I am at a good spot, and as you can also see, I have access to a number of resources and components that I'll need to build things. And I think what I'm going to build is a new small ship. So I'll start with a piece of landing gear here, which I can then build onto. Now I'm going to use a basic building block, which will shrink down here when I get it on the landing gear. But as you can see, it adjusts automatically to the size of the object that I'm working on. Here it's very large, and then when I bring it back over to the landing gear, it's going to be smaller, since it is a small ship. After I get a few blocks on here, sort of lay a foundation, I think what I'm next going to do is put on my cockpit. And I think I'll probably go with a cool looking fighter cockpit too. Let's see here, there's one. I'll go ahead and add that to my toolbar at the bottom of the screen. And line it up here. You can tell by the difficulty I have lining things up sometimes in these kinds of games that I don't actually play this genre very often myself. But if I add a few more blocks here, maybe I can have an easier time of it. That might be what's really going on here. So we'll get a few more on here, and then we'll try to add the cockpit again. And then once I get the cockpit on, I'm going to want to add some things that my shuttle or fighter, there we go, much easier, will need. Oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. So, but there we go. I think that's right. Yeah, that looks nice. But as I was saying, I'm going to need to add some things that are really required for my ship. Thrusters, here you can see I think I'm adding a small reactor. And there are some other things here that you can see, like a gyroscope that I'm going to need on my ship. Just like in the real world, players of this game must take special care in the design of everything they build for it to function as they intend it to. Let's jump ahead to putting on the finishing touches. As you can see, I'm no more a space engineer expert than I am an actual engineer. I've built a pretty basic fighter, and right now I'm attaching some missile launchers just for fun. Hopefully they're on the right way. With those locked in, let's take it for a test drive and see how I did. If I go up to the cockpit here, I can easily jump in, and we'll see my cool fighter cockpit from the inside. And then I just need to go into the system here and disengage my landing gear. Should be able to unlock it. And then from there, I'm pretty sure that we can take off and test this baby out. And here we go. Seems to be working. I'm actually really impressed. This game is pretty difficult. Oh wow, and it turns really well. Wow, I'm really impressed. Sorry, I've struggled with this game and making this video, actually. This is great. I have noticed in that bottom right area of my heads-up display, my power usage is giving me an overload warning a little bit, but I haven't blown up yet, and I think I can fix that by just adding another small reactor. So I'm counting this as a win. I think I actually nailed the ratio of gyroscopes, thrusters in the right places, and power for this ship. This is a win. Nice. And I just successfully tested one of the rocket launchers, and it looks like they're on the right way. I didn't blow my ship up. Let's try the Gatling gun. Looks great. Let's go back into the systems here. I'll try the other rocket launcher. Should be rocket launcher 3, I think. And just taking a look here at some other stuff. But let's give it a shot here in a second. Okay. Alright, here we go. Let's launch this baby. Oh my gosh! No! My ship! Where is it? Let's go find it. There it is. Oh, the wreckage. It's there. It looks like it's all intact. Did I just blow the cockpit off? There's some damage there. But if I put a cockpit back on it, can I save it? Let's engineer that. Let's Apollo 13 this. Oh, yes. Get a cockpit back on there and save this ship. Oh, this isn't going to work. It's drifting and I cannot. Oh no, my Achilles heel. Well, I'm going to go ahead and try and engineer a way out of this, and just going to wrap up by saying that, you know, this game is incredibly complex and just a delight to play. There's so much you can do. I've seen players build trains running between asteroids. I've seen a replica of the Millennium Falcon that's actually one of the fastest ships I've seen, which of course is very fitting. I also want to remind all of our PE Magazine readers that we're actually giving away, thanks to the generosity of Keen Software House, 2 copies of Space Engineers, as well as 2 copies of their game, also in development, Medieval Engineers. So be sure, if you haven't already, as I've said, go and check out our September-October cover story, Playing Engineers, at www.nspe.org. And find out the details for those giveaways so that you too can, you know, do what I'm doing and fail at engineering. Oh, no, wait! Succeed at engineering. In space, of course. And on that note, I'd just like to thank you for joining me for this video demonstration of the video game Space Engineers. And don't forget, if you haven't already, to also check out my demonstrations of the video games Trove and Polybridge.